Everyone has a bright light inside of them that deserves to be seen by the world. That's why it's time to shine the light on the extraordinary who are accomplishing phenomenal things. This is the Shine Out Loud Show with Lillian Ogbogo.
Good evening, good afternoon, wherever in the world you are. This is another episode of the Shine Out Loud Show with me, Lillian Ogbogo. Tonight we're talking skincare. We're getting to the nitty-gritty of taking care of diverse skin. And joining us on the show today is an incredible woman who's dedicated her last 10 years to actually ensuring that women are putting their best face forward. I am talking about a woman who believes that skincare is for all, not just for the few. I'm talking to Dija Ayodele. Dija, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, you are so welcome. Now,
happy to be here.
Oh, listen, I am so glad you could join us today. You are an esthetician. You are founder and creator of 3107 London and the founder of the Black Skin Care Directory. And you're a mother, you're a wife, you're all of these things. Where do you find the time?
I guess you just make the time. If there's something you really want to do and you're really passionate about doing it, I think you make the time. I mean, I do sacrifice sleep a lot, but I think it's only temporary, so I just push through.
Okay, all right.
Mm-hmm.
So sacrificing sleep, I'm going to come back to that because, that's a question that a lot of us ask, does sleep affect our beauty? So we'll come back to that. Now, when you say you're an esthetician, how is that different? What is that? And how is that different from our regular standard facialist? What is the difference?
Okay. Well, the difference is, for example, that I have further qualifications in skincare. So I'm currently completing my level 4, which means I can do things like chemical skin peels, that's my forte. That's what I love doing. So that's what I do in the main. But it also means I can work with more cosmeceutical brands, which have more active ingredients in them. Whereas a facialist, for example, traditionally would do the sort of the pampering facial.
Right.
But they are moving into incorporating more elements into facials, but also things like I can use different types of equipment if I wanted as well. I don't currently use a lot of equipment in my work because I've mainly focused on the skin peels, which don't need any equipment as such. But it just means I have access to a lot more different types of products, a lot more different types of equipment, and it sets you apart from a regular facial, which you'd get in a salon. I work in a more sort of clinical environment.
Okay, so you've used a word that most of us would not have heard. So what's a cosmeceutical brand? And let's talk about that.
Well, a cosmeceutical brand is one that's shown to have proven effects, positive effects on the skin. So it's got more actives, it's more sort of scientifically driven. It's got ingredients that have been tested, clinical tested, peer review tested as well. So technically, it's not if you look in the European Union, it's not a term that actually exists.
Okay.
But it was developed by dermatologists and clinical brands as a way of describing their products and setting their products differently from the high street, because they're a lot more driven, and you can only access cosmeceutical products from, say, estheticians like myself, or from clinics, or from dermatologists. So you couldn't just sort of walk to Boots or Selfridges or House of Fraser or whatever and pick them up.
Okay. All right. Now we know. Now we know the difference. And yes, as one of your clients, I can actually say, yes, there is a difference with these brands. And it's not just, maybe we'll see. No, there is a definitely distinct difference.
Definitely. There isn't yes, maybe we'll see. You will notice a difference if you are using cosmeceutical brands, especially if you're off the age where you perhaps maybe are starting to see a little bit more changes to your skin. You will notice the difference that they pack a punch. It's definitely, I was having a conversation with someone recently. It's definitely a lifestyle kind of choice. Some people, cosmeceutical brands are not always green, so they're backed by a lot of science and a lot of technology within the actual products and ingredients themselves. So it's definitely a kind of a lifestyle thing. It's not to say other brands don't work or other categories of products don't work, but it's definitely cosmeceuticals definitely sit at the higher end of results driven and at a faster pace as well.
Awesome. Okay. So let's keep going because we have a lot to get through. I want to talk to you because we have a lot. I'm so excited.
Okay.
So let's start with this. In your bio, you say that skincare for women of color is one of your greater passion. Here's my question. Why is it important for us as women of color, or why is it important to have skincare that caters to us and for us?
It stems from sort of going to conferences and reading sort of journals and aesthetic magazines and just kind of being, a lot of the times, being the only Black woman in the room. And I'm sat there thinking, yes, all this is well and good. I can see that you've done a great testing. Within skincare, skin is classified from number 1 to number 6. I'm just making it very plain. So it's classified from number 1 to number 6, with number 6 being the darker skin tones, number 4, 5, and 6 being the darkest. And you'd get presentations where they've done up to, say, number 1 to 4, but 5 and 6 are missing. And that me being sitting on the number 5, and I'm sat there going, oh, this is well and good, but where's number 5 and where's number 6? And that's where the sort of desire that actually women of colour do exist. We are a market and we are not represented. We're not represented in the studies. Or we are, but it's only in America. We're not represented in the products that are sold. We're not represented in the imagery that's presented for products. So when it comes to aesthetic skincare and when it comes to cosmeceuticals, it's where are women of color? We are there, and we do require the same level of product. Our skin goes through changes as well. And in terms of clinicians working on skin of color, it's a missing gap as well. So for me, that's where it comes from, that skincare should be diverse. And if it is diverse in one part of the world, then why is that diversity not transferred to another part of the world? Say, for example, from America to England. Why not? We are a burgeoning market. We completely deserve to have those needs met as well.
I agree. And the fact that we have brands, I remember a few years ago that there were brands here that most people didn't realize made skincare and products, especially makeup line, for women of color, until you left the shores and were somewhere else. And you're like, really?
Yeah.
They make makeup for me?
Absolutely. And I know a lot of it is driven by research, and I know a lot of it is driven by numbers, which is why wherever possible I try and undertake my own research, so that it's not just anecdotal evidence that's been presented, but it's actually facts and figures that has been presented. And I think brands are more likely to make the investment when they can see concrete figures, as opposed to just, because feelings are not facts. How you feel isn't a fact, but when you have numbers, that is a fact. So that makes a big difference in what's available. And there's some brands out there, even within aesthetics, who are doing great work for women of color. It's just that the knowledge isn't out there, and women of color, for some, there's a disconnect. Women of color are not connecting with those brands for some reason. But it is always improving. That's one thing to take away from it. It's always improving.
Okay, so let's do this, and I know we have some more questions, but you've just touched on something where you're talking about there are great brands out there that are creating for women of color, but there seems to be a disconnect. Now, I know that we're not supposed to name drop, but would you, 2 brands that you think are doing some really great things for women of color
within skincare
and even the makeup line, which would you recommend for women to take a look at that is unknown?
Okay. I'll do one makeup and I'll do one skincare, and I'll start with skincare first. I'll name the brand that I use in clinic, which is Neostrata. They have they're an American brand, and but they have a great distributor in England, and they have a lot of clinical data, which I have access to, which shows their clinical trials on women of colour.
Okay.
So for that reason, I'll name Neostrata, not because they actively set out to say we do products for women of colour, but because they have the ingredients they use overall within their products for all skin colours are effective for women of colour as a topical skincare regime. So, for example, they use, well, it's going against science, but they use things like lactobionic acid, maltobionic acid, retinol. All those are great ingredients for women of colour and all skin colours.
Okay.
But they actively do trials for women of colour. So they're a great brand to work with and a great brand to recommend to women of colour, because I've seen the evidence and I've seen the results of their work on women of colour skin. Makeup wise, it's a very small, very quiet brand. But for example, Laura Mercier, they have an extensive range for women of colour. I've been using their products for the last 5 years, and they cover all skin tones. Their foundations come across a massive range, as does their concealers as well. So, there are a great number of brands, both makeup and skincare, that are applicable to women of colour, and it's a continually improving situation. Though, Fenty Beauty has come and knocked the ball out of the park with 40 shades of foundation, but it just goes to show, if you want to do something and you're committed to doing it, then it's there. But yes. There is a makeup brand out there for any skin colour, especially women of colour. The situation is much improved.
And that's good. And I think we need to honor that. So, I mean, you've touched on Fenty Beauty, so we might as well go on as we, go down this road, with the launch of this line, Rihanna's line, and you've mentioned other ones that are out there, great makeup lines that cater for all shades of women. What are your thoughts on brands like L'Oreal and Co. that do not seem to cater enough to us?
I mean, I really believe that there needs to be a genuine desire and a genuine need, a genuine feeling to cater for women of colour and all other skin tones as well. I think if you're jumping onto the diversity bandwagon because it's cool, or you kind of just spotted it as a money-making, a way of making more money for the brand and for your shareholders, and then it's not very genuine, which is why perhaps, they're kind of one step in, maybe taking on a spokesperson that's very diverse and very outspoken, but the minute that spokesperson is outspoken, they very quickly to get rid of them because It's not genuine. Their desire to have hired that person wasn't genuine. It was more about the fact that they were diverse and perhaps that person could help them reach a different market, which would then obviously enhance their pockets. So I think with the provision, there also needs to be a real genuine feeling behind it rather than a token feeling. And I think I've heard a lot of women of colour say that it feels like it's a token effort.
I call it lip service. It's paying lip service to the word diversity. The same way there was an award show recently and it was classed under a diversity award show, but both presenters for the award show were non-diverse individuals. I'm like, do you know what your brand is and what so I was like, if you're paying lip service to something, it shows. And in this era of where people are very brand savvy, it shows even more.
Yeah, and I think people, you just have people just walk away from it because it's not genuine, which is why, for example, I like to know the brands that I work with. I go out to lunch with them, I hang out with them, I get to know if they are genuine and if they're just sort of thinking, well, this is an interesting market, let's see how much money we can make. Because it's not about that. It's about providing a service and providing a real service, and for people not to feel that you're going to jump ship the minute something goes wrong, as we've seen in the past.
No, I agree. I agree with that. And I think knowing the brands that you are working with is very important for any business. But more so, like you said, that it's not just that, can I make money from this market? And I think that's one of the things that we need to look at. What are these brands saying to us? Now, personally, I personally think instead of us going into Twitter rages online, we just need to perform what I call economic sanctions and put our money in brands that support us. That's my personal opinion.
I mean, I would be of the same opinion. Why spend your money on something that's not giving you anything? Beauty is supposed to be a feel-good thing.
Yes.
Why spend your money on something that doesn't make you feel good, or you don't enjoy their message, or you feel like you've been taken for a ride? It doesn't enhance your experience at all. It's definitely for me, it's a fun factor. It's a feel-good factor. So I'd rather go to where the fun is and it's a genuine type of feeling as opposed to, like you say, just lip service.
Exactly. Okay, so we're talking brands, and we're talking brands that are inclusive, and I think it will honor us to mention another brand that's actually catering for women of color in London, which is called 3107 London. And that is your brand. That's your skincare brand.
Yeah. So 3107 has been up and running now for just over a year, maybe a year and a half, 18 months, I say. And whilst obviously I am a woman of color, because I work in skincare, I created it for my clients and the wider sort of population. And it literally is, for example, with the makeup remover product, we're focusing on women who wear makeup every day, or sunscreen or whatever to help them remove all of that first before they continue with their skincare. So it's been a very interesting ride. It's been a fun ride, and an interesting ride, a challenging ride. It's business at the end of the day, and it will be challenging. So it's been a massive learning curve as well. But yeah, it's serving women of color and like I say, all people really.
It's an inclusive brand, so you're not saying it's just for women of color. It's an inclusive brand.
Yeah, it's an inclusive brand. Like I say with the makeup remover, if you wear makeup, then you need one in your life. It doesn't matter if you're a woman of color. It doesn't matter if you're Caucasian. It doesn't matter if you're as long as you're wearing makeup and you're slaying with makeup every day, you need a makeup remover. Full stop. Okay.
Now, I like that. But you know what I love more about the brand? And let me just say that brand, that makeup remover smells like heaven in a jar. That's the first thing.
Thank you.
Smells like heaven in a jar. And I remember when I received mine in the pack, it was like, oh, this is so cute.
Oh, thank you. Oh,
you're welcome.
You can't obviously see me, but yes, blushing.
It smells like heaven in a jar. And then I went on and I read about how you came out with the name for the brand 3107 is actually linked to your entire family.
Yeah. So my birthday is on the 31st of July, which is 3107. And my daughter, her birth dates are the same digits as my mum, same digits. And recently, someone very close to me who we recently lost was actually lost on the same day as my birthday. So it actually even has even more resonance and more meaning to me now, more so than before, because it now links my maternal family and my husband's family all in one.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. So, it's, I just wasn't going to call the product Dija.
What? You're slaying. It's your product.
I just wasn't going to call it Dija or Khadija. I just wasn't going to, I just didn't want it. Also, I had this thing of I didn't own my name. I kind of was, and it was very recently when I did my new aesthetics website, and I was like, look, I'm Dija Ayodele, and this is my website, because it was just like, my name is too much of a mouthful. People won't be able to say it. I'll get all sorts of variations, blah, 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 blah. But, you know, I finally owned my name recently, and I was like, no, this is it. This is me. I'll teach you what to say if you can't say it.
Oh, I like that. I like the story around this brand, and I like the fact that you have your website, because I've been on it for a few back and forth and looking at it. And you know, when people think about you, they don't realize that you have so many different levels to you, being the esthetician, the brand owner, but you're also working on an important project, which is the, let me get this right, is the Black Skincare Directory, and that's coming out early next year.
Yeah.
What inspired that?
It's a Black Skin Directory.
Okay.
And I'll give you the story. Basically, it's not even a story. I went to a conference, as I do, because I'm a geek, and I was looking around the room. There were sort of 200, maybe 300 odd people there. I was the only black girl, black woman. Mm-hmm. I still think of myself as 16, so I'll normally reference myself as a girl. And I was, you know, and I was being very, very sort of upfront with the presenters, and, you know, had presenters from all over the world. And, you know, every single presentation I would say, and where is your evidence about this ingredient, about this product on black skin? You know, I was, you know, they could preempt towards the end. You'd have presenters who would just volunteer the information because they knew I was going to ask the question.
Right.
And, you know, and I just thought to myself, hold on, if you're not presenting the information that this brand, this products, these ingredients, you know, have beneficial effects on women of color, you know, if you don't present that information, then women of color don't know. And, you know, all the clinicians in the room were also, there was no one of color in that room, from the dermatologists right down to the estheticians, apart from myself. There was no one. And I just thought, so where are the people of color clinicians? Why have they not attended this massive event? And I just thought there's a disconnect somewhere, because we're not getting it fed through. We're not getting the product information fed through to women of color. We're not getting the treatment information fed through to women of color. And coupled with some research that I did, where women of color said things like, I prefer to only see a clinician who is of the same skin color as me, because I feel that they would understand my skin better. You know, whilst I understand the sentiment behind that statement, it is not a statement that holds true, because a clinician needs to have experience in dealing with your skin color. They do not need to be the same skin color as you.
Yeah.
And I know so many fabulous clinicians who treat me, and I'm a woman of color. And I think, well, if you're looking for clinicians who are experienced in treating women of color, I can connect you to them, because, you know, you're not always going to find a clinician that's a person of color that's going to be able to treat what you want them to treat.
Yes.
You might need to go elsewhere. And if you're thinking they're not going to understand your skin, but you don't know the background of that clinician and how many hours of experience they have under their belt treating black skin, then, you know, you're almost closing your eyes to your own good fortune in a way. So that's how Black Skin Directory came about, was a connecting. It was almost like the yellow pages for black women to be able to log on and think, I have hyperpigmentation, I live in London, I need to find a clinician in London to be able to deal with this for me or tell me what to do, and to access that person, be it that person is that clinician is black, or that clinician is white or Asian or whatever, but to access the best clinician with the best experience in dealing with that condition, regardless of the clinician's skin color. That's what drives Black Skin Directory. And the fact that so many people have got in contact with me, and just regular consumers have emailed me, got in contact and said, this is the missing link. I'm so excited about it. You know, we can't wait for it to launch, because it's literally a yellow pages. And in my head, when I look at it, I remember the old yellow pages that used to, you know, you'd flip through,
yes.
You know, you're looking for a plumber and you'd look, you know, look through, you know, and in my head, it's the same thing. You're looking for someone, you're black, and you're looking for someone to deal with your acne and maybe acne scarring, right? You know, you flip through. it's a very, for me, I find it to be a very simple concept, but it was one that was a glaringly missing link within the aesthetic industry.
Right, and it comes out 2018.
Yes, early 2018. So at the moment there is a website currently anyway, and it talks about what drove the creation of it, and we are actively encouraging people to register on the website, register to keep up to date, because there's lots of amazing things happening. We are linked with a lot of great skincare companies, and we've got lots of freebies and lots of giveaways going on. So there's one currently, but there's loads more to come. Okay. And also, it's not just about linking and connecting consumers to clinicians. It's also about events where women of color consumers can meet clinicians directly and talk to them directly one-to-one, and also about products, highlighting and showcasing products that have proven beneficial effects for the complaints that women of color tend to suffer from most.
All right. And you mentioned there's a website. What's the website?
So it's www.blackskindirectory.com.
Okay, so we have that, and we're going to come back to your other websites. Now, I've been meaning to talk about this. We talk about the fact that one of your areas of expertise is skin peels. Now, I'm sure, like most other women, when people reference the word skin peel, you see flashbacks of Sex in the City and that episode. You know the episode I'm talking about.
When Samantha gets one done and Carrie's got a book launch. Yeah.
Yes. And she looks like the bride of Frankenstein at that moment, with her face red and peeled and sore and angry, and you want me to do this? Why do you want me to do this, Dija? Why?
Well, see, I don't know what Samantha had done that day, right? But that is the image people do have of skin peels. And skin peels come in different levels. There's the superficial level, which is very, very light. There's a medium depth level, which goes down slightly and goes further down into the layers of the skin. It can, if you're Caucasian, obviously you're going to look red. You're going to look even redder. Right. But there's also the once in a lifetime deep peel, which you can only ever get once in your lifetime for safety reasons, but literally it erases wrinkles and all that sort of stuff. Now, that is a very aggressive peel, and that is not what I'm about. I am on very much at the top end of the scale with the superficial peels, which help to refine your skin. So whatever skin complaint you have, be it rosacea, be it acne, be it hyperpigmentation, be it textural irregularities, being a bit of sun damage, a course of the lighter skin peels, so it's a build-up approach. It's more progressive and a lot gentler on your skin. It controls things like the visibility of pores, controls if you're oily, it controls, it gives you good oil control for your skin. If you've got acne, it helps to heal the lesions, the acne lesions, and it helps to keep acne under control. If you've got rosacea, it strengthens your skin. They also work on the basis that they stimulate collagen within your skin, and they stimulate more hyaluronic acid. Now, you must have heard the term hyaluronic acid, which is it's a natural moisture binding element in your skin, but it is also a plumping element in your skin. And when you're young and youthful, you have lots of hyaluronic acid. As you age, hyaluronic acid in your skin depletes. But skin peels help to keep that supply going and help to keep your skin looking plump and stronger and fortified and more healthy. That is what skin peels do. It is absolutely nothing to be scared about or worried about. No one's going to look like Samantha. Obviously that was done for dramatic effect as well. So, we've got to bear in mind it was telly. But the regular aesthetically driven skin peels, like what I use with a system called Pro System skin peels, they are recognized as one of the best in the world. And they are, again, evidence-based, results-driven, time and time again. But you have to bear in mind as well that you can't just come for a skin peel, then go out, for example, and sit in the sun. You have to have proper home care. You have to have the relevant products to use at home.
Okay.
As well. You can't, if you have a skin peel and you sit out in the sun, you're waiting for destruction to happen literally to your skin. You have to wear sunscreen. You have to have, you can't just, and then you can't just go and get something off the high street as well. You have to have the complementary products to go with it. And then you see the results. I have clients who I know were hesitant about having skin peels and have gone through and had skin peels and had the relevant products to use at home. And, they are so amazed about the difference and turnaround in their skin. So it's definitely not anything to be scared about. But I'm hoping to put on an event hopefully before Christmas, where it kind of demystifies the process.
Okay.
So, there'll be a live skin peel basically, and people can see that actually it is not anything scary at all.
Right. I'm sure it's not, but that image, I'm sure everybody in your industry would have face palmed themselves going, oh God, this will forever haunt us.
Yeah, because we end up having to explain about it all the time. I don't know any clinician, but also it doesn't help that it's called a skin peel or a chemical acid peel.
Yep.
Because you think acid burns, chemical, why would I want that on my skin? It doesn't help that what it's called. The actual name is an alpha hydroxy acid, which means which is what you get from fruits. So it's an alpha hydroxy acid or a polyhydroxy acid peel. And that's a mouthful. And I think at some point, maybe someone wanted to sensationalize the whole thing and call it a skin peel. So therefore, there's things like that stick, not always for the good or best reasons. But if you have a good clinician or a good esthetician who will sit down and explain it to you and work you through it, then, and give you all the relevant information. I do a lot of hand holding of my clients. I am always contactable. I am always on email. I am, you can send me messages. I do a lot of hand holding because I know that people are nervous. And the last thing you want for someone to have is come and have a skin peel with you, and then they can't get hold of you for any questions or concerns they have. That's the last thing you want. So I am very much a hand holder when it comes to these things.
Okay, so that's good to know. And and every time I hear the word skin peel, I just see that image and it flashes up, and I'm like, it's like basically it makes me giggle, but I'm like, wow.
I know, Samantha did nothing to help. And she was my favorite, but she did nothing to help.
Yeah, she came with the black veil and everything. You're like,
I know,
whoa.
I remember. She looked like beef carpaccio.
I'm like, what? Did they drag the skin up from your soul? What did they do?
Yeah.
You're like, nope, don't want it.
She definitely had, a medium to deep peel. She shouldn't have even been out, basically. There's some peels that you have to stay indoors for at least a week. You cannot be out in sunlight. You have to slather your skin in heavy emollient-based creams to help your skin heal. And there are legitimate reasons why people can have them done. You could have been a victim of a knife attack and maybe you have a big scar going through your face. They're legitimate reasons, but they're also not so great reasons. Well, I wouldn't say not so great because you don't know what people are going through, but there are also people who have them done because they don't want to look any older than they are, So
of course.
It's up to the clinician or dermatologist to do a psychological assessment, whether that client can handle it or not.
All right. So skin pills, not for us to be scared of.
At all.
Good to
Definitely
know.
not.
All right. So, we jumped right in and we came through certain questions, but we didn't ask the most important question here. Now, you left a career in the financial sector to become a skincare professional. And how and why and what drove you down this road?
Oh gosh, thinking back, I come from a highly academic family, where the route was set at birth. You'd go to school, you would go to university, you would come out, you'd be a doctor, lawyer, engineer, whatever. It was set. And I had a mother that went to the salon every weekend, nails done, hair done, and that's what I grew up with. So I was always interested in grooming.
Right.
And as I got older, I was more and more interested in it, but I knew that there was no way I was going to be able to pursue something like that at 16. I knew that it was A levels and straight off to uni. But I always did little courses on the side. I remember one of the naughtiest things I did when I was working for one of the biggest investment banks in the world. And I booked myself on a nail course because I've done everything within beauty. I've done nails, I've done makeup, I've done skin. And I booked myself on this course, and it was every Monday, and my boss was livid because it's very disruptive to have someone off every Monday for 5 weeks. But she didn't realize she signed it off. But those are the sorts of things I would do. I was always the girl who, my desk was it was full of product. It was full of things for night out, makeup, and all that sort of stuff. And it was just a natural thing for me to do when the financial crisis hit. I remember that summer I left one bank and I took the summer off and I went to New York and I worked at New York Fashion Week, and I came back and I got another job in another bank. And they made me redundant, and I was so happy because for me that was the sign that I was not supposed to be in four walls in an office, And I think when you don't have the responsibility of a child or a marriage or anything like that, you kind of just go with the flow. So then I enrolled to do a full sort of beauty therapy course, and I just took it from there. And I always loved writing, so I continued to write. And it was definitely one of those moments where, because I didn't have a journalism degree and I wanted to write for magazines, and I thought this was the advent of blogging, and I thought, well, if, they say if Muhammad cannot go to the mountain, he'll bring the mountain to himself or something like that. So I thought, well, if they won't hire me, I'll just start writing a blog. I'll do my own writing. I don't need them. So I just continued to write, basically. And then slowly but surely, I started writing for a few different magazines and whatnot, and online platforms as well. And it's definitely not necessarily been the easiest ride, but it's definitely been the most fulfilling ride. And the most fun ride. But yeah, I think I probably would have gone stir crazy by now if I was still working in financial services.
I understand. And I have to say this, I take my hat off to you, and I celebrate those bold steps and the fact that your naughty activities was going on nail classes. I just have some very interesting images of you sneaking off to your little nail class going, I hope no one can see me now.
Yeah. I mean, luckily it was pre sort of social media, so you didn't have to I didn't post any pictures anywhere or whatever, but I was working with the best nail brand in the world. It was OPI. Mm-hmm. I did some fantastic work with them, and I really enjoyed it. And I did all areas of beauty because it's great to have the background knowledge. And I when I left investment banking, I went to work for a salon in London. And it was fun. It was great. It was a hard graft, but it was the most amazing thing I did. And it's almost 10 years later, and I'm really starting to see the fruits of your hard graft and of your labour. But it does come through, and I suppose, would I advise anyone to do the same thing? If your heart's in it and you have the motivation and the dedication, then yes, you have one life to live, and don't live it unhappily.
Okay. See, that right there is tweetable. You have one life to live. Don't live it unhappily. And I think that's very important. Now, this is a great time to pause for a moment for us to do a quick catch up. For those of us who are just joining us, and I don't know where you've been for the last 40 minutes, I am talking to the incredible Dija Ayodele, and we're talking about skincare. We're talking about why inclusive skincare is important. We're talking about understanding what to do with our skin, who to go to, why the word skin peel should not produce horror reaction from us as women of color, and why we should start looking at other brands who are not just paying lip service to diversity, but those who champion it and create great products that work for us. Now, I also wanted to look at a couple of questions now. We keep talking about inclusivity. We've been talking about diversity. Why is it so important right now in 2017 for us to keep talking about inclusivity in skincare?
Simply because we exist. Why shouldn't women of color be catered for, or be visibly catered for? Because I don't think it's a fact that we're not catered for. I think it's not visible. I think the imagery is lacking. The clinicians are lacking. So therefore, I think it's very important. And for me, it's almost like, I know it's a question, but it's almost like a non-question. Like, why not? Why shouldn't we be catered for? The women of color market is professional, it's growing, there's money to spend. All the research shows that women of color spend a lot more money on beauty than white women. But is that because some of the products that, say for example, makeup brands, the foundations are so expensive, and those are sometimes the only options? Is that why it costs so much more? And is that why we spend so much more? Or are we spending so much more on hair? So there is some debate in the figures, but the figures on the whole show that women of color are a growing market that want to be catered for and are demanding to be catered for. You have so many women of color creating their own brands and setting up their own businesses. It's because, they can see the need and the need to be catered for is there. I don't see why one demographic should be catered for and another shouldn't. It doesn't. For me personally, that's a non-debatable factor. If you're going to create skincare or you're going to create makeup, let it work for everybody.
No, I absolutely agree. And the fact that you said something at the very beginning when you were talking about your product, you're saying if you wear makeup, this is for you. So it should be as simple as, if you have skin, we have makeup for you.
Yeah, if you have skin, we have makeup for you. If for example, a brand comes out and they have a very specific mission, say they come out and they are a specific type of, say they have a very specific type of foundation to deal with people who have vitiligo, for example. I get that if you have an angle that you're coming out with because you want to serve a particular type of population for a particular reason. That is absolutely fine. There's nothing wrong with being niche. But if you come out and you're like, we do makeup, basic makeup, foundation, concealers, but you're saying, oh, but we only cater for, up to beige. Why is that? Why are you catering only up to beige? I mean, like I say, the situation is much improved, and I really don't have time for brands, especially when it comes to makeup. Don't have time for brands that don't have a fully inclusive range. I head straight to the ones that do. There's the ones that get my money. That's why
plain and simple.
Yeah, I don't scream and shout that somebody isn't catering for me. I just go to the person that is catering for me. Because what's the point? You're screaming and shouting. You can't force brands to do anything they don't want to do. If they're happy in their little corner, making their money from that little portion of people, that's them. Just walk on by. Just go to where they're catering for you.
And you know what? I'm not surprised that you are actually working on products and brands and skincare and talking about inclusiveness and diversity, because it seems to run in your family, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's what how I've always been, is how I've always grown up. So for me, it's just, if somebody isn't doing something for you, just move on to where it's diverse enough for you to stand.
Exactly. And that's funny enough. That was what your aunt actually said when she was on our show. I found out that you were actually related to our past guest. So you want to share with us who that guest is? And we'll
Yeah. So my auntie, yes, she's my auntie. African families can be so complicated. who's an auntie and who's a cousin and whatnot. So she's my auntie. So Sadia Sisse of Being You. She's my mum's first cousin's wife. And yeah, it was, she created the lingerie line because she didn't feel, she was being catered for, or her daughter, she didn't want her daughter to grow up and not feel catered for. So she created something in that arena. And it definitely is something that, runs in our family, in terms of, we won't scream and shout, oh, so-and-so hasn't done this for us. We, just go and do it. If you're not, if there's something you want that hasn't been done already, or someone doesn't do it the way you want, then you do it yourself.
Exactly. And I think this is the perfect time for us to segue into our So Loud moment of the week. I think, now's time that we should celebrate someone or someones who are doing amazing things that you want to celebrate.
Okay. So there is someone who is so under the radar, but he does amazing. So I'm going to go for a man. He does amazing work, and he is David Horne, who co-owns House of Glam Dolls, which he comes from a makeup artist background.
Okay.
And but his range from day one that he created always catered for women of color. So, for example, I'm completely in love with a product of his called the Glam Base Wheel, which is a concealing palette, but it's the only one I have ever come across. So it's got 6 concealing colors in it.
Wow.
And it's the only one I've ever come across that caters for all the undertones within black skin.
Okay.
So for me, I'm giving him a big shout out and a big clap. And he was also one of the first people to believe in my beauty industry dreams and take me to New York with him to work on New York Fashion Week.
Oh, wow.
And I do cringe back thinking, oh my God, I was terrible. But, he was like, yeah, come along, I'll take you. And, he's just that sort of person. So my shout out is to him. For being inclusive from day one.
Okay, and so on the show, from you to him, from us, we do this. I love it. Yeah. I love that, and I think we need to celebrate more people who are inclusive, who are doing amazing work. And the more we celebrate, the more we see them. So we've had some questions come in, and Now the first question, this is interesting, is where is that question? Somebody goes, now, does drinking a lot of water really help our facial complexion?
Oh gosh, that is always the question. It does to a certain extent, but it's not. It's not just drinking a lot of water. You need to keep your skin hydrated. Water is not just good for your face, but it's good for keeping your organs going, good for keeping your brain, your concentration levels active. But when it comes to skincare in particular, it's more about drinking water that's actually fortified. Because your skin is the last place to get anything. Water, oxygen, nutrients, your skin gets it last.
Okay.
Your vital organs will get everything first. But it's more about drinking water that's fortified. For example, there's a brand that I absolutely love called Rejuvenated, and they do sort of collagen. I call it collagen infused water, but it helps to build up your collagen reserves in your skin, and build up your hyaluronic acid in your skin, which is what gives you the youthful complexion. So whilst drinking water is great, I would say there's clever ways of drinking water, and drinking a fortified water, say for example collagen infused, is a better route all round.
Okay.
Pure water, H2O, doesn't necessarily get to your skin and do what people always traditionally think it's going to do. No.
Okay. And the other question, and I hope that answers that question for you, the other question is, a friend who has money to burn, shade, makes avocados for facials. Is there any health benefit to this, or can I get them to preserve avocados for the rest of us to eat?
Eat the avocado. That's my answer. Eat the avocado. because it is a good fat that is beneficial to your skin. Your skin needs fats because the skin has a protective barrier to covering it, which is what protects you from losing moisture. Right. And that's an oil and water base. So the oils, the natural oils on your skin are actually what stops you from losing moisture. Avocado fat is a really good oil for your skin. So eat the avocados. Stop the friend from using it as a face mask. It is not going to penetrate the skin topically. It will feel nice. It will be a bit messy, but you're better off eating it and using that money to burn on actual properly proven topical skincare.
Okay, so you've heard it. Eat the avocados, have some guacamole, and
absolutely
go in to see Dija and get your skin taken care of.
I'll say that, yes.
All right. So we have more questions. And, there are things that we talk about. And one of the things in your bio, you talk about well-being and well-beauty. What does well-being mean to you? And what daily practices can, stressed out women who were multitasking to the eyeball can adopt into their day-to-day lives?
For me, well-being is about looking after yourself and taking that time out to ensure that your reserve and your tank is full. You cannot give anything to anyone if you're running on empty. And I say that, and I frequently sometimes run on empty, and I know it's not the great thing. But what I do to then, if I realize I'm running on empty and I need to get myself back together, I have an early night. Okay. I completely shut down and shut off from the world. No social media, no laptop, no nothing. And I have an early night, which then enables me to wake up very early in the morning, say around about 4:30, sort out my diary, sort out where the blockages are that's causing me the stress. Mm-hmm. And I start the week I have 8 pieces of paper lined up on my desk, and each paper is labeled with a day and the things that I need to achieve in that day. And that not only includes my work, but includes stuff for my daughter, my husband, my family, includes everything I need to achieve in that day. And I staple them together and I go through that and I tick off things that I've done. And on the 8th paper, the 8th paper is labeled next week. So anything that I don't get to do this week or anything that I feel can be kicked over to the following week, I do that. And that helps me to manage my well-being, because it means I'm not constantly flustered. Because I am technically also a stay-at-home mum, I have periods of the day where I don't work and I don't answer any emails. So between 2:30 and 7:00, I am usually uncontactable. Because I have been up since 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning. I've always almost put in a full day's work by 2:00. So I'm usually uncontactable at that point because that's family time. So I think it's so important to set boundaries and clear boundaries as to when you can work, when you can't work, and have your coping mechanisms in place. And mine is definitely my 8 pieces of paper. It helps me just know what's going on in my life.
I like that 8 pieces of paper. It sounds really simple, uncomplicated, but it sounds like it's a clear way to get things done.
Yeah, I might post a picture on it on Instagram later if anyone wants to kind of see.
Oh, please do. And do tag us in it. We'll love to see this.
Considering I only came back to work today. It starts from Wednesday this week, but it does go right through. It even has things like what emails I need to answer and what work it helps me keep me focused, and you keep your eye on the bigger thing. The other thing I also do, which I learned from a friend of mine, is only do one task at a time. Don't chop and change between different tasks. Do one task and focus on it, even if it takes you all week, because you get to the end of the week and you've achieved that one thing, rather than having lots of, open-ended tasks on your desk.
Well, I mean, doesn't that go against the multitasking mantra that we seem to be upholding right now, that, we must be slaying 24/7 and doing everything at the same time?
See, the people who say that, they're not doing that. That's my personal opinion. The people who are like constantly busy, they love just the idea of they're busy. They love that. And that's fine if that's how you function. But with me, I'm a highly over-functioning individual. So I know that I need to have my lists so I can tick things off and know that I have achieved something. And even if my list only has one thing on it, if I can get to the end of the week and I know I've completed that, it's done, it's dusted, then I'm happy. I can't have lots of open-ended tasks because then it feels like I'm frazzled.
I can understand that.
No, so no, I don't buy into the whole be busy for busy sake.
Yeah, no, I've kind of given up my busy card because I like my brain space and it's just not healthy. But we're talking self-care, we're talking well-being, and you've mentioned about self-care practices that you actually do. So let's ask this, as an esthetician, as someone who is trained, what are your skincare routines that we, us mortals, can pick up and do at home that is simple, that we can incorporate into our day-to-day?
Yeah, so I completely believe in keeping it simple. I'm not a big fan of using 10 products every day or every night. I just can't get around that. I need to go to bed quickly. So, for example, just in the evening alone, I think a 2 or 3 product routine is fine. If you've been wearing makeup, you remove your makeup, say with like 3107 makeup remover, and then you wash your face with your gel wash or your creamy wash or whatever. You wash your face, you apply your retinol, your retinol based treatment cream, and off you go to bed or whatever it is you're doing for the rest of the evening. For me, that is part of self-care. Standing in the bathroom mirror choosing 6 or 7 different products is I think that's quite tiresome. And a lot of the women who come to see me in clinic are really looking to simplify their skincare and their lives. And when you're using very effective products, you do not need to use 10 products. You can get away with using, say, 3 or 4. Likewise, in the morning, you wash your face, you apply your serum, and you apply a moisturizer over that. So long as your serum is jam-packed with all the active ingredients that you need, your moisturizer and then your sunscreen, you're good to go. Again, that is part of self-care. I think you're not laboring over what to do, and you're not spending so much money on so many different products that you have no idea what they're going to do and if they're going to work for you. That money can be better off spent on better self-care, like taking yourself to a spa for a day or something. So one of the things I say to everybody, simplify your skincare and get your time back. Reclaim your time.
You did it. You did it. You just reclaimed your time. Okay.
Reclaim your time in the bathroom.
Reclaiming my time. So.
Yep.
Oh, wow. So reclaim your time in the bathroom, simplify your skincare, and really just pick products that work well for you. And it's not a one size fits all. There are certain products that we all have to figure out what works best for all.
Yeah, it depends what your concern is. If your concern is hyperpigmentation, then you want to focus on products that are going to lighten and brighten hyperpigmentation, as well as wearing a sunscreen. That's going to be your main focus. If your focus is oily skin, you want to be focusing on oil control products. If you've got rough and bumpy skin, you want to be focusing on products that exfoliate your skin on a more regular basis. So, it depends what your concern is. I suppose that's why I always say to people, a consultation is the best way to go. Even if you're not interested in having skin peels, have a consultation so you know where you're going to go with your skincare, and have the best topical skincare available for you, that addresses your specific concerns. What works for XYZ on Instagram isn't necessarily going to work for you.
Okay, and on that point, I think, we should take that seriously. And if people need to find you, they want your services, how can they do it?
Now, I am the most easily accessible person, so you can, obviously, I've got an Instagram page that's my own name. 3107 has its own Instagram page, but if you just go to Dija Ayodele on Instagram, you will find all my details and a link to my website. You can send me an email via my website. My email address is visible, or you can just use the contact form. You can send me. I do respond to direct messages on Instagram. It might take me a couple of days because I don't always know that there's a message there, but I do respond to direct messages. But if you email me via my website, I actually get that straight away, and I can give you a response much quicker.
Okay, and you're also on Twitter as well, because that's how we connected.
Yeah. So our good friend Denise from Wow Beauty connected us. Yeah, so I'm also on Twitter, and I do get the notifications on my phone. But honestly, emailing me at hello@dijaayodele.com or dija@dijaayodele.com gets through to me probably quicker.
Okay, well, Dija, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. And we are going to get you back because we're going to talk some more later on in the year. And yes, I think this conversation about inclusive skincare and affordable skincare for all is something that we need to be talking about more and more. And yes, I really want to celebrate the work that you do. I want to celebrate the work that you do, and I want to celebrate your passion for this work. So thank you for being on the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I really, really appreciate it. I really enjoyed it. It's gone really quickly.
I know. I looked up. I'm like, oh, wow, look, it's gone.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the amazing thing about skincare is that there is something for everyone. And it's a very inclusive thing. Beauty and skincare is very inclusive, but it can easily be exclusive and divisive.
Exactly.
If people feel they're not being represented. And sometimes that's to do with the brand, and sometimes that's to do with people not looking in the right place. And what I aim to do and always would love to do is to connect people and brands to make sure everyone's coming together to find what they need for themselves.
And I love that. I love the fact that that's what you do, and that's what you've put out there, and the work that you do is fantastic. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in October.
Yes. I'm looking forward to seeing you too.
Awesome. So, so we've had the amazing Dija Ayodele on the show tonight, and we're talking skincare. We got into skincare, we got into brands, we talked about inclusivity and why we should vote with our pockets and say, if you do not cater for me, I will go elsewhere. Plain and simple. No ifs, buts, or maybe. And to coin a phrase, we will reclaim our skincare and take it to people who actually want to service us, who want to be of service to us. So join us same time next week, where we have the director, that is Rhoda Wilson, on the show, and we'll be talking about Nollywood film directing, being a woman behind the camera, and all shades of different things. So join us same place next week. This is me, Liliana Bogo, signing off.
What's going on? If you're enjoying today's show, don't forget to check out our website at www.shineoutloud.tv. And we'd definitely appreciate it if you subscribe to the show and leave us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes too. Thank you.